Somewhere on this planet, the ground turns colors that should not exist. Lakes glow bubblegum pink, and rivers run blood red. These are not renders, not other worlds. They are 12 real places on Earth, so alien that scientists use some of them to train astronauts for Mars. Stay until number 1, because the last one is a landscape so hostile it is the closest thing to standing on another planet without leaving home. We are counting down from number 12 to number 1, from a bubblegum pink lake to a landscape so toxic and alien that NASA studies it to understand Mars. Each one proves Earth is stranger than any science fiction planet. Number 12, Wave Rock. A wall of solid granite frozen mid-crash, curling 15 meters into the air like a giant ocean wave that turned to stone millions of years ago and never broke. A slow orbit around the formation reveals its true shape. A smooth concave wall over 100 meters long, curling overhead exactly like a wave about to break onto the flat red Earth below. Flying close along the surface reveals the streaks, vertical bands of red, gray, and yellow left by decades of mineral-rich rainwater running down the rock face like a painted ocean spray. It was shaped over 2 billion years, water and wind slowly undercutting the base of the granite outcrop until only this dramatic overhanging curl remained standing. Visitors barely reach a third of the way up its face, dwarfed beneath a wave of stone that has stood frozen since long before humans existed. It sits in the middle of flat, dry outback scrubland, making the sudden wave-shaped cliff feel even more impossible, like the ocean itself forgot to leave. At golden hour, the rock ignites in deep orange and red, the mineral streaks glowing like a wave caught permanently at sunset. Aboriginal communities have known this formation for tens of thousands of years, long before it ever earned its now famous nickname. Number 11, the Chocolate Hills. Over 1,200 nearly identical cone-shaped mounds spread across the landscape, turning uniformly brown in the dry season until the whole province looks like a field of giant chocolate drops. Rising slowly above a single hill reveals what makes this place so strange. Dozens more identical cones stretch in every direction, as if the land itself were mass-produced. Skimming low between two hills shows the sharply defined edges, grass turning from green to deep brown in the dry months, giving every mound its chocolate drop color. Officially, over 1,200 hills have been counted, though locals say some counts have reached closer to 1,700 depending on where you stop. Geologists still debate their formation. Some say ancient coral deposits pushed up and eroded by rainwater, others point to limestone shaped by millions of years of weathering. Local legend tells a different story, that the hills are the dried tears of a heartbroken giant who wept for a lost love until his tears turned to earth. In the wet season, the hills flip completely green, and only the dry months bring back the chocolate color that gave this place its name. From the official viewing deck, all you see is an endless field of identical mounds, a landscape so repetitive it feels computer-generated. Number 10, Spotted Lake. As summer heat evaporates the water, hundreds of mineral-rich pools separate and dry into a polka dot pattern of yellow, blue, and green circles, turning the entire lakebed into something that looks painted by an alien hand. Flying low between the pools reveals mineral crusts forming natural walkways, thin white borders of dried magnesium and calcium separating each colored circle. Rising above the full lakebed shows the true scale of the pattern, hundreds of spots in every direction, no two exactly the same size or color. The lake holds one of the highest mineral concentrations on Earth, magnesium sulfate, calcium, and sodium sulfate so dense they crystallize into distinct pools as water evaporates. Each pool takes on a different shade depending on its mineral makeup, sulfur yellows, magnesium blues, and pale greens, creating a living color chart across the lakebed. For the Silks Okanagan people, this lake has been sacred for generations, its mineral-rich mud, long used for healing long before scientists studied its chemistry. In spring, the lake is simply one body of water. The alien polka dot pattern only appears once summer heat does its slow work of evaporation. Access is now restricted to protect the site, so most people only ever see this alien landscape from exactly where our drone is flying now. Number 9, Fly Geyser. A man-made accident turned into one of the strangest structures on the planet, layers of mineral deposits growing into a glowing psychedelic mound that never stops spraying, colored red and green by thriving thermophile algae. A full circle around the geyser reveals every side glowing differently. Calcium carbonate terraces built up in decades of continuous mineral deposit, dyed by algae that love the heat. Flying close to the surface shows constant water bubbling from multiple vents, spraying several feet into the air in a display that has not stopped since it began. It began in 1964, an accidental byproduct of a geothermal test well that was never sealed properly, letting hot water escape and slowly build the mound we see today. Thermophile algae thrive in the mineral-rich moisture, painting the entire structure in vivid reds and greens that shift depending on temperature and season. The mound keeps growing every year, new mineral layers depositing endlessly, meaning the geyser looks slightly different with every passing season. It sits on private land surrounded by flat Nevada desert, a single glowing anomaly rising from an otherwise empty landscape. Once nearly impossible to see up close, guided tours now let a lucky few walk right up to a structure most people only ever see in photographs. Number 8. Pamukkale. Its name means cotton castle, and from above it looks exactly like one, a mountainside frozen mid-cascade in brilliant white travertine terraces filled with warm turquoise mineral pools. Flying just above the terraces reveals stacked pools of warm mineral water, each one spilling gently into the next, sculpting new white ridges as centuries pass. Rising above the full hillside shows the sheer scale, an entire mountainside coated in brilliant white calcium formations that look like snow in the middle of a warm Turkish summer. Mineral-rich hot springs have flowed down this hillside for thousands of years, depositing calcium carbonate that slowly hardens into the smooth white terraces seen today. The ancient city of Hierapolis was built directly above these springs, its ruins still standing on the plateau, drawn here by the same healing waters visitors seek today. At sunset, the white terraces turn gold and pink, the mineral pools reflecting the sky like scattered mirrors across the hillside. The water flows at a comfortably warm temperature year-round, meaning the terraces never freeze, and the pools stay inviting in every season. Now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, strict rules protect the fragile terraces, ensuring this frozen white cascade survives for centuries more. If these places already look unreal, remember we have only reached the halfway point. The deeper we go, the more the ground stops looking like Earth at all. Number 7. Socotra Island. Isolated for 6 million years, it evolved a forest unlike anywhere else on Earth, dominated by umbrella-shaped dragon's blood trees that bleed deep red sap and look like they belong on an entirely different planet. Weaving between the trees reveals their strange, upside-down umbrella canopy, dense branches spreading flat and wide to trap the island's scarce moisture from morning mist. A full orbit around a single ancient tree shows its thick, smooth trunk, some specimens estimated to be hundreds of years old and still producing their famous red resin. Cut off from mainland Africa and Arabia for millions of years, roughly a third of Socotra's plant species exist nowhere else on the planet. When cut, the tree bleeds a deep crimson resin once so prized it was traded as dragon's blood, used in ancient medicine, dye, and even as violin varnish. The trees grow on the Dixon Plateau, a rocky highland where alien-looking bottle trees and desert rose plants share the same otherworldly landscape. Powerful monsoon winds and scarce rainfall shaped every plant here into something bizarre, sculpted by isolation into forms found nowhere else on Earth. Scientists call it one of the most biodiverse and alien island ecosystems on the planet, a living fragment of what Earth may have looked like millions of years ago. Number 6. The Zhengye Dangxia landform. Layers of mineral-rich sandstone pressed together over 24 million years erupted into mountains striped in red, orange, yellow, and blue, like a rainbow painted directly onto stone. Flying close to the ridgeline reveals sharp bands of color pressed together like sedimentary pages of a book, each stripe a different era of mineral deposit. Rising above the range shows the full rainbow effect, entire mountainsides shifting from deep red to soft yellow to unexpected streaks of blue-gray. Different mineral compositions, iron oxide reds, sandstone yellows, created these colors as tectonic pressure folded and tilted the layers over millions of years. Wind and rain carved the folded layers into smooth, rounded ridges, sculpting nature's raw color palette into flowing, almost liquid-looking mountain forms. The colors intensify dramatically after rainfall or at golden hour, when wet stone and low light combine to make the mountains look almost fluorescent. The formation stretches across more than 500 square kilometers, one of the largest and most vivid Dongxia landforms found anywhere in China. Now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, walkways guide visitors through the park without disturbing the delicate colored slopes below. Number 5. Lake Hillier. A lake the color of solid bubblegum, permanently bright pink no matter the weather, the angle, or the season, sitting just meters from the deep blue ocean in a color contrast that looks digitally edited. Rising above the lake reveals the full color shock, the same striking pink stretching from shore to shore, unmistakably surreal against the surrounding turquoise ocean. Skimming low over the surface shows the color never fades or shifts. Unlike other pink lakes worldwide that turn pale in low light, this one stays vivid around the clock. Scientists point to a combination of algae, salt-loving bacteria, and high salinity creating pigments that give the lake its permanent, unnatural shade of pink. Unlike some colorful lakes elsewhere, Lake Hillier is completely safe to swim in, the pink color harmless despite how alien it looks from above. It sits on a remote, uninhabited island accessible only by boat or aircraft, keeping this surreal landscape almost entirely untouched by human development. A narrow strip of dense green forest and white sand separates the pink lake from the deep blue ocean, three impossible colors sitting side by side. First recorded by European explorers in 1802, the lake has puzzled and delighted visitors for over 2 centuries with no loss of its strange color. Number 4. The Vatnajökull Ice Caves. Beneath Europe's largest glacier, meltwater carves shifting caverns of pure blue crystal ice, glowing from within like the interior of a frozen alien moon. Flying deeper into the cave reveals ribbons of compressed ice hundreds of years old, air bubbles trapped inside glowing like frozen stars scattered through the blue ceiling. A slow orbit inside the main chamber shows the full curved ceiling, sculpted smooth by meltwater into flowing shapes that shift with every passing season. The deep blue color comes from densely compressed ancient ice absorbing every color of light except blue, which scatters back through walls meters thick. These caves only appear in the coldest winter months, carved fresh each year by meltwater rivers running beneath the glacier during the warmer season. Vatnajökull itself covers 8% of Iceland's entire landmass, a glacier so vast that entire ice cave systems form and vanish beneath it every year. The caves are unstable and change constantly, meaning only licensed guides with real-time monitoring can safely lead visitors through the shifting ice. Each cave is temporary, collapsing and reforming differently every winter, meaning no 2 visitors ever see exactly the same frozen alien chamber. The top 3 are the landscape scientists use as literal stand-ins for other planets. The next one glows in colors no camera filter created. Number 3. Rio Tinto. A river that runs blood red for 62 miles, so acidic and metal-rich that almost nothing survives in it, except extremophile microbes so similar to theorized Martian life that NASA uses this river to study the search for life on other planets. Flying just above the water reveals its true color, up-close deep red stained by dissolved iron, so acidic it can dissolve metal left submerged for weeks. Rising above the river shows the full winding path, 62 miles of red water cutting through equally rust-colored banks in a landscape that looks nothing like Earth. Its extreme acidity and heavy metal content come from thousands of years of mining, but the microbial life thriving inside it is entirely natural, adapted to survive conditions that would kill nearly anything else. NASA astrobiologists study the extremophile microbes here as a working model for how life might survive in the harsh, acidic, iron-rich conditions found on Mars. Mining along this river dates back 5,000 years, from ancient civilizations extracting copper to modern operations that intensified its extreme chemistry. Depending on mineral concentration and sunlight, the water shifts between deep red, burnt orange, and even purple-tinted hues along its length. Scientists call it one of the best living Mars analogs on Earth, a real alien river you can fly over without ever leaving this planet. Number 2. Salar de Uyuni, the largest salt flat on Earth, over 4,000 square miles of blinding white crust that, after a thin layer of rain, transforms into the largest mirror on the planet, reflecting the sky so perfectly the horizon disappears entirely. Skimming just above the flooded surface, the drone itself seems to fly through open sky, water so still and thin that reflection and reality become impossible to separate. Rising higher reveals the true scale, a mirror stretching farther than the eye can follow, clouds doubled above and below in a landscape with no visible edge. In the dry season, the same landscape transforms completely, cracking into a vast honeycomb pattern of hexagonal salt tiles stretching to every horizon. Beneath the crust lies over half the world's known lithium reserves, locked in brine pools that could one day power the next generation of batteries. It formed from a prehistoric lake that evaporated thousands of years ago, leaving behind a crust of salt up to 10 meters thick in places. Cactus-covered islands rise from the flat like stone ships stranded in a white ocean, ancient coral remnants from when this was truly underwater. Photographers and astronomers alike call it the closest thing to standing between two skies, a landscape so reflective it erases the line between ground and heaven. And number 1, the Danakil Depression, one of the hottest, lowest, and most hostile places on the surface of the Earth, where neon acid lakes bubble beside active volcanoes, and NASA scientists study its extreme chemistry as the closest living analog to the surface of Mars or Jupiter's moon Io. Flying low over the sulfur fields reveals a landscape unlike anywhere else on the planet. Neon yellow and acid green crusts steaming continuously with the smell of a place still actively forming. A full orbit around one bubbling acid pool shows its violent chemistry up close, boiling brine erupting in small geysers of scalding, highly acidic water. Average temperatures here regularly exceed 34 degrees Celsius year-round, making the Danakil one of the hottest continuously inhabited places on the planet. Nearby, the Irta Ale volcano holds one of the few permanent lava lakes on Earth, its molten surface glowing orange against the night sky just kilometers away. Much of the depression sits over 100 meters below sea level, one of the lowest, driest, and most extreme points on the entire African continent. NASA and European space agencies send researchers here specifically because its chemistry, heat, and acid lakes closely mirror conditions found on Mars and on Jupiter's volcanic moon Io. Despite its hostility, the Afar people have lived at its edges for generations, mining salt from its ancient lakebeds in one of the harshest inhabited landscapes on the planet. From a pink lake in Australia to an acid landscape that mimics Mars, these 12 places prove you do not need a spaceship to feel like you have left Earth. Which one looked the most alien to you? Subscribe to Impossible Travel, and next time we fly through the most impossible islands ever found.